the second link of the chain?
Yeah, just
I got it.
Alright, I'm hitting refresh as we speak. There we go.
Tag or two might be changed, but gate cannot go basic.
That's fine.
Alright, everyone good? Alright. My process of being has ended, my process of becoming has started. Contention one's expedition. Korean immigration has been kept a secret in Mexico. Lily Gonzalez tells us her story of how there were slaves on Head King Plantation. That's Civilian 2007. This part of Mexican situation has been kept a secret. Hundreds of Koreans are forced to live in contracts. They could never manage to have be forced to Yili Gonzalez grab in some of Mexico. Still was hard labor. Utah to grab here. Living in some foreign country. Those who refuse to work for being what's your last name? And they'll say this one's last name, somebody else changed the name. Now these slaves represent the myth of the modern to the in Korean immigrants were recognized as the best workers but excluded due to their game. That changed that fine. When they homeland strange country, the 133. Now home to be without the rivers home country again. The first Korean immigrants like made an captain the Japanese slave trader. The Scottish came to coast and take Korean over the Australian plantation. They're sold as slaves to plantation on the factory. They lives worse than those roots. The diligence of their reputation best order. So much that they're giving them the nickname and claim, but the myth is a lie. And while in the current society, Asian Americans vindicate the American dream. They are living proof of the powers of rocking and absent racial discrimination. But this is problematic for some Asian groups because the plight of the Southeast Asian refugee gets lost in averaging. Southeast Asian are lumped into the broader category Asian. That's their path to in 2002. The model by Noy myth are persistent because political conservatives close pathway. Asian Americans win the dollar, lose the myth comes from reaching and starting our society working. The flip side is also appealing right because Asian Americans are set from their strong families and their dedication to education. However, conservatives say that in poverty Latinos, African Americans, but same time their own values. A myth of racism took hold at a sensitive point in U.S. history through the immigration reform that year, which selected a large amount of educated immigrants into the United States. Highly skilled Southeast Asian nurses, doctors, engineers began pouring in just as racial tension refugee revenge. Article Trump at a time when it is being pushed out to hundreds billion being spent to upton minorities. So there are nations 300,000 Chinese American moving ahead with their own with no help from anyone else. Newsweek 1970 has Asian Americans out white and the whites, and the Fortune 1960 as a super minority. Asian Americans are living proof of the power of the free market. Absent racial discrimination. A closer look paints another picture. While Jamal Strackley's views of David Doe's half the population of Asian Americans made up to highly educated immigrants. A player refugee from Cambodia lost in Vietnam gets lost in an average. Disadvantage has devastating effects on the lives inside the United States. Poverty rates among South Asian Americans much higher than those even non-minorities. Anticipating the clean air act is created by lumping poverty together. Federal government still groups South Asian refugees under the overbroad category Asian for research and funding purposes. We labor under the shadow of the model myth for so long so that people don't even know this specifically isn't contributing to the community. But this violence is silent. The right covers up this exception to uphold the model minor myth. As their Paco 2002, the majority of American South Asian hail from rural areas. The psychological scholars were deeper from their longer years in squalor refugee camps or killing field. The refugees often found themselves trapped in poverty, providing low-cost labor, and receiving no help for all the benefits. The people that make startling similar to the situation of the poorest members of the non-minority groups. South the Asian Latinos African Americans have significant numbers of single-parent families. According to Emory households are headed by a single woman. For the sake of preserving the minority rich, conservative policymakers have largely ignored the needs of South Asian communities. But the myth is false. Koreans are seen as a minority, but they're also the forever foreigner. This ideology of being in the middle causes psychological violence. That came in 2008. Although Korean Americans rely on acting that was the benefits of conflict over race and status reform consider Asian Americans moving off their social life and sites backlash against the foreign competition. Thus, something assimilation. Such backlash portrays the rationality of the model minority and the foreigner. The model minority yellow period form a circular relationship. That is our moment in Asian Americans having two model and minority. The same folks which have the offsides most virulently as foreigners. This native racial discrimination underpins the 19th and 20th century Asian exclusion as a model minority image allow both representations exist side by side. The Korean Americans are simultaneously subordinated by both racial positions. What I like to call foreign model minority code. The U.S. state neglect of difference of Korean stereotypes. It's certainly parallel to U.S. concerning South Korean people unfamiliar and unimportant. We subordinate foreigners. Can this account for the racial ideology in both countries? And the myth also creates a discourse of the immigrant and the deserving poor, which justifies the decidedly black underclass. Taking 2000, very few challenges over being knowledge one common mistake between black working class girl and white. Africans instead of Asian American poverty scientists distinct with African black culture poverty. Social science has produced numerous studies to organize question supposedly between the black and immigrants and the other. The core assumption is that the immigrants are inclined to social and cultural practices which save them from underclass status. We are confronted with the developments where a discourse of the immigrant as a deserving poor. The location of the deserving poor is determined by behaviors that constitute cultural poverty. Behaviors that from this form this are organized in a way that guarantees survival as opposed to the devolution of the decidedly black underclass. Now we are a confrontation with the model minority. We rid white supremacy of the vector of oppression and uses to police minority body. This resolves three impacts. One is the psychological violence that Asian Americans. Two is the oppression of other minorities, which white supremacy is justified through the myth. And three is the resentment between minority groups that Chicago 93. The history discrimination is screwed by portray Asian American minority. Asian American portray hard intelligence society belief in the minority lives just by ignoring the unique discrimination faced by Asian Americans. The portray principle of probably ignore the needs. You'll find important rights to the minority, pulling yourself from harshly to become the model self-respect. Those bottom line theories are largely unquestioned such by current social. One can see the label as a tool of oppression, which one the nice consider present discrimination Asian American. Two is might see the oppression of the racial minorities. The myth Canada's contains found both inside and outside the Asian American community. Many such great audience, some sympathetic to arouse Asian American to be outside to be without social service. Asian thinking Asian American society is official. Denied funding social service program. College ministry excluded Asian American students from education opportunity program. Japanese American men earn income compared to those white men, but the only to require education. Income disparity from other Asian American groups are more glaring. The Asian family more workers per household, more Asian American women compared to more because of male members of the family in such low age. Wage disparity between parents. Juvenile allocation is considered the model where they do harm by hurting other racial minorities. And poor rights are blamed for not being successful. African American Latinos are poor rights. So look at those Asians. Anyone can make it in the country. This blame is justified by the very topics needed to improve by Asian Americans. We are complicit to oppress other racial minorities. This way creates resentment against Asian Americans among African American Latinos and poor whites. A lot of white service can be escaped as Korean Americans in Los Angeles government rise. Many Koreans now view themselves as human shields, caught between the white majority and the black minority. The modified myth and establish racial hierarchy denies the oppression of Asian Americans. Thus, Gabe and I affirm a process of conscientization to expose the myth of the minority that has been used as a justification for the position of the black flag, contended to conscientization. We often compellingly participate in debate without ever considering the possibility that debate can change the world. How the critical thinking and research skills we develop from meeting events, methodology, liberating press groups, often from our own socialization. Our speech chat focuses on the epistemological occurring from the activity and the development of critical conscience. Debate becomes more than just a game, or a process like lead to conscientization. Also, in 2007, the study of Asian American violence and class development political acting battle. The violent way to access a real possibility of the young people become critically conscious of political acting. Acting involves affecting no order, giving out the political action of the rights and whole source of the actions redounding to seek apathy. These Asian Americans, long as man become fully involved. They realize the political convention where the attorneys doing use it's common chance for people who believe that there is hope for the future. Common to contribute to the development of Asian American critical consciousness. Now, U.S. economic engagement as well as the way we choose to discuss economic policy, neglecting presence of the Asian identity. Our critical examination of this year's policy question raises our consciousness of how the Asian citizens perceive the world. That can create real change. Also, 2007, conscientization, we will enable meaningful education, right now, to understand the impact social and force oppression have lives. The project of conscientization involves a constant clarification of what we're saying windows. While we move by the world, the approach practice will not keep it robust, more dynamically in the making. Such practice often inspires people working against oppression, thus begin to act to transform the world. Naming the world is important steps actively changing. Now, every round to keep development of the Asian American critical conscience. Also, 2007, Asian Americans have continued to develop Asian American critical conscience. Communicate with the world of social change. Experience learning activity. Battle purpose, active reflection. Move students to Asian American critical consciousness. Now, our performance is key because debate has elements that contribute to conscientization that must be embraced for effective change. That's also 2007, critical elements contribute to conscientization. Important to take information, steps, and tools, and calmly understand how lives are shaped by structural forces. Important moments, educational keys to war made a difference. Schooling, not talking about the racial and Asian American experience, inspired experiences of other Asian Americans who struggle to overcome harsh conditions. Committed to Asian American issues with deeply one things transform understanding, interaction, research to extend to knowledge and learn for efforts to make change. Finally, consciously rising when these discrete elements work in combination. Those not purely analytical experience, absent social element, instead multifaceted and to relate experience reinforce each other. For acting seeking to raise the critical conscious Asian Americans, possess and softly conscious latent common foundation necessary for people to see themselves in relation to the world. There's a value need to offer a range of experiences across the community, breaking from binary construction that often hit acting programs against student life activities. Consciously rising when people are exposed to quiet lessons learned from a variety of sources. Alright, we seriously need to add an extra part we want to see in a second. We'll get to it. We should have a discussion on the topic, one that allows us to examine the historicity of how nations are made and unmade, one that invites the active and critical examination of the world, increasing concerns over racial equality and the problematic idea that's Trump equal 2005, knowing how history started political struggle means absent practice and reattention so forward in history by reproduction, vindicating exclusion and inclusion. Such a critique around this question how the face of history celebrates the U.S. nation. The role that the United States holds in wars and frequently remains unquestioned. Refuse to reflect on the past with nostalgia that continue to celebrate myths. The nation calls for examining history through which nations are made and unmade. Understanding that historicity of nation serves as an ideological alibi offers us a starting point. Increasing concerns with issues of race and historicity means that there is no unified knowledge, and only contested subjects whose multi-layered and often contradictory voices intermingle with parts of history that are presented unified. This represents an opportunity for genuine productive study, discussion, and learning.
If you could just put those in the body of an email.
Yeah, gotcha. Oh, just the body?
I mean, unless you think it'd be easier otherwise.
I'll put my body.
Okay. I guess we can start this section while you do that. Alright, so the first argument, correct me if I'm wrong, but the 1AC has advanced the argument that there is a stereotype that Asians are like smart, good at debate, etc. Yes? Yeah. And then what do you do to rupture that stereotype?
We go through the process of conscientization and perform.
Yes, alright, so what is your like conscientization performance? What does that include doing?
Okay, the methodology of conscientization as described by the OCG evidence is a constant clarification of how Asians exist and perceive the world. Is a process of learning that takes interrelated social experiences within academic.
So I guess what about conscientization is a disruption of this stereotype?
Because one of the reasons why the stereotype exists is because Asian Americans itself believe in it. They fall back on this mono-binary myth when it's convenient for them. We blatantly reject that and expose the harms that it does. Also, the other argument is through our performance.
Alright, that makes sense. Alright, then let's talk about the exposition contention. I guess how do you resolve the fact that like Korean immigrants were exploited in Mexico? I guess I'm confused as to how...
We don't solve that. That's our examination of the...
Right, so you've given like an FYI of something that has happened in Mexico. Yes. How is this relevant to like the rest of the...
Because that's how we critically interrogate the resolution.
So you critically interrogate the fact that Korean immigrants came to Mexico.
No, not came to Mexico. They were
Came
used
to
on
Mexico.
Mexican plantations through the model minority myth.
Through the model minority myth. Okay,
Yes.
I guess that brings me to, like, is economic engagement a good or bad thing?
Economic engagement, we say our form of economic engagement is good.
Your form, what is your form?
As the 2A2 define, we think economic engagement is a little bit more than just economic. We will define economic engagement as analyzing policies, or not even exactly policies, just immigration.
I guess, what about the app is a form of, like,
evidence.
okay, so what about the app, like,
Legal
meets the
evidence.
resolutional question of, like, economic engagement towards Mexico, Venezuela, Cuba?
Towards Mexico. We also, the important part you cut me off was the Trump-Nico evidence, which is basically a counter definition of the United States federal government. We say that the United States federal government is us within the realm because we're the ones who examine the historicities and the myths that prop up the United States federal
that
government.
makes sense. Then what is the role of the ballot under the affirmative?
We say that the role of the ballot should be which team best performatively, methodologically liberates oppressed groups.
Liberates oppressed groups,
Yes.
okay. Then, I guess about the transformative potential of debate. I'm a little confused as to why every single round is key.
That's the card, that's the OCD card that says that conscientization is a constant process, a constant clarification. And the last one says that this
So I guess when do we stop doing conscientization? Like when can we decide like, okay, those stereotype has been ruptured?
we shouldn't stop conscientization and constant clarification. That's why we run this.
Right, I agree that we go like, we keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it. I'm guessing when do you know that you have actually like solved the harms that you claim to solve, like the three impacts that you've talked about?
I'm telling you, I think you're missing the point of solvency.
Right, so yes, you make this argument that there are like
There's not like an end point to this method. It's a method we use.
Then
to
I guess if we
try
cannot
and make
decide
a
whether or
better
not like conscientization eventually reaches its goals, then how can we decide if it is a good idea or not?
Because if it reaches its goals, as in like works towards them successfully, then it's a good method.
Right, but if we were not able to decide whether or not the endpoint of conscientization is successful, how do we know whether or not the app is a good idea?
The question of endpoint is irrelevant
Right,
in this
because
context.
you have said that there isn't an endpoint, so then how do we know it's a good idea?
Because if it resolves the harms that we outlined in the 1AC, then that's a good
But
idea.
you just said that there is not an endpoint to the harms that
Because
we see.
racism's not going to magically disappear.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, the email sent. Just the order.
Yep, it'll be 2 up and then 2.
In order of the MC.
Both advantages of separation.
Yeah.
Alright, cool.
Wait, what did you say you were doing with Kate?
It's the order of what I see.
Okay.
So then exposition, then conscientization.
Whenever you're ready, dude.
First off, Topicality economic engagement means using exclusively economic contexts like trade, loans, and grades resonate, and one undefined engagement in the attempt to influence political behavior of target state through the acceptance and enhancement of context, economic context, trade, agreement form from economic, and material in the form of loans and or grades and the instruments of economic engagement must be exclusively economic jackson into the approach to economic engagement, as economic engagement focuses exclusively on economic instrument and foreign policy, economic engagement, the policy of cognitive development, economic relations with the adversary in order to try and the target state behavior and to improve bilateral relations in violation. The firms not defend an increase in economic engagement and the basic game there's an intrinsic value to playing a game at how and do contest cannot write political principle of fairness no do I need another primary achievement of the significant of individual events that enable upon defeating any capable competitor ones of being meaningless one should also one that they have able officers they have opportunities and capacities to succeed in contest that should be able to honor the fair whenever fair contest such logic competition that can inform the features include for help people become able to resist with democratic respect demands inclusion agonistic politics construed as competitive fairness consistent and robust consent to political rights as a procedural notion converted upon citizens in order to sustain viable political practice constraints on speech. Access is so ensure lopsided political context. We can even defend positive rights as an educational prerequisite for mere combination having a predictable topic is key prerequisite for debate for this turns our case Shipley in 2000 the mistake is in thinking consistent to be able certain truths therefore we can argue about them we cannot argue about something we cannot agree on the topic in terms of or even agree about the different ideas about what kinds of interpret argument we must agree about what is being debated before we can debate contest and be meaningless we lack and agree about what is being contested debated must have some shared ideas about the subject in order turns in a debate about U.S. policy proposed in Latin America as a uniquely good IRI and drove an ongoing trend in Latin America's inconsistency executed to create substantive policy to address social needs of political parties to offering a rhetoric to win votes and raise. I no longer realize on the best points of the hinge on sensational hurdles in the policy. Those will help drive more substantive discussion and debate among political leaders and elected officials on how best to solve the most pressing needs of Latin America. And next topic is framework. Interpretation, the basic game where the resolution creates a stasis point. The affirmative must defend the United States federal government should increase its economic engagement, and the role of that set a norm for the debate community about what counts as defending the resolution that violates the affirmative, not advocate the resolution. This undermines content engagement versus resolve before colon means less sensitive action. Army, so officers school and for the colon introduce a formal resolution at the board result of resolve. This counted within the mayor and USFD showed the means of the debate about a U.S. policy as about a policy established by governmental means. Erikson and 3 each topic information doing the acting U.S. should the verb or action should means putting that policy into action through governmental means. The debate is about whether something going to occur, and increase means become larger, greater in quantity and quantity. English dictionary takes increase become make something become larger in number, quantity, or degree, and a limited topic of discussion that provides for equitable ground is key to productive decision making, advocacy skills, and life. Even there for district contestable, listening from being valuably debatable. The provide room for flexibility, creativity, and innovation for targets. These guys avoid me the same as Steinberg. And freely a debate is made certainly deficit. There must be conflict. One is an agreement. There's no need for debate. Debate cannot produce effective. Decision with a clear identification of a question. General argument maker had the broad topic. Breaking how many they take talk about participating in this, but not likely to be productive. That focusing on a particular question, the working inside contribution to be stated clearly. They understand results, not focus, deliberate, important, sit in evidence. By failure, progress, make progress, immigration, debate without focus on their discussion. They could agree without finding question clarity or solution to precise. A question is supposed to more profitable area discussion, but not assembly. By placing questions for concrete solution and have productive debate, placing limits on setting the basis for arguing clearly, depending on merely talking about homelessness or global warming, likely to have an interesting discussion that is still too broad. The basis of arguments should be based on a phrase in a debate. A promise is not to say that the debate should completely avoid creative interpretation. The point is that debate is facilitated by focusing on particular point of deterrence and difference, and this is the only portable skill. Means our framework turns case Steinberg and freely innate that after anticipating the House and send a vote authorized Bush to attack Iraq. Meanwhile, a couple deliberated over this departure large. Even these situations that cause for decisions to be made like decision making. Every profession requires to make decision making to the president with the crisis. The military mission or diplomacy on what information should never like critical thing and able to break arguments to evaluate is relevant validity in our success and is largely determined by ability to make wise decisions. And these skills are crucial to solving global problems. Lundberg and to the debate builds capacity for critical thinking uninformed. Decision making and judgment debate builds skills that allow citizenry to research and be well informed. The fostering problem solving democratic deliberative capacity serves as an unmet practice for meaningful political engagement and expanding. The practice is crucial that democracy face challenges of class generation, environmental distraction, climate change threats to, and national stability and challenge globalization more than any specific policy and informed citizenry that deliberates with great skill provides one of the best ways for dealing with existential challenges. And to its side debate prevents dogmatism and increased education viewer and under three debating both sides not to lead to DC attitude tolerance for the differing. A point to be the debate only one side leads to ego identification on that side. The other side seems only has something to be described. The tolerance is one of the greatest benefits to debating. The other side has those who better recognize the fact become intolerant, but dogmatic and negative tolerance is really demoralized and they overcome the natural tendencies to reading against associates and individuals must gain the capacity to engage self-reflecting questioning role playing is central element of any effort to gain such insight. Only naturally that requires defense of both sides can engender powerful role playing level critical importance of topic engagement paragraph or debates explicitly develop criteria for discussing these values are instrumental providing a hearing from a point of view, and we control uniqueness. Students have already preconceived an ideological notion about how the world operates government, a policy discussion about forced engagement with and resolution of competing perspectives to improve social outcomes, and it breaks down a traditional pedagogical framework by pausing students as the agent of decision-making effort and taking to build the government, simulation by less versed students in educational simulation participant of the importance of understanding more perspective than necessarily compromise crisis exercise over force to overcome bureaucratic myopia and think more creativity about how else my great skill of imagination, ability to predict foreign decision making critical for the reward policy maker by a university student, a predefined video of international affairs excited for students to challenge assumptions about how other governments behave and how their government works. Educational literature is founded on these benefits from encouraging engagement by breaking from the typical lecture format to improving communication skills, simulation, can deepen understanding by asking students to link continuity force, participate to grapple with issues of writing for the world effectively role playing, exercise and encourage students to learn political facts so they learn them, a more active style of students actively research government positions, simulation, teach how to contextualize and act on information and first advantage. The one is a double thing. They said that they stereotype that Asian Americans are good at debating smart, and they have said that rupturing that stereotype is good. Voting aid breaks the stereotype that Asian Americans are the smartest and best debating. We also need to be able to explore how cabinet caused the exploitation of Korean immigrants to DT on Olympic Regal. The both the two were brought by mixing the higher immigration in the advertisements, falsely promising high wages. Korea had been suffering from a bad harvest. Koreans looking for a better life in Mexico must have seemed like a change of lifetime. Mexican plantation owners once secure labor required all the workers to live in the housing and pay them, poorly treat them, harshly beaten, and they felt by the daily quote that they were forced force, be by the food at high prices. The thing is, if you use it from slave labor to deprive what these Korean immigrants face with no saving they could return to Korea, and economic context is crucial to understanding the mental model minority adapt and restored to the diversion to the standard of living between Eastern and Western China has been accompanied by the breakdown of social safety net that has left many Western China without proper access to healthcare, regional disparities, economic inequality, social instability, and class conflicts, raise the possibility of new revolutionary strong CCPs unable to bring any kind of disabilities to talk to oversee the significant these types of prospect for unrest and developing a state-dependent natural resource and much of its growth, and Asian Americans studies need to be understood in economic context. One, attending the global capitalism crisis is most fragile. Theoretical and particularly the Asian American studies of mainstream Asian American critics continue to validate neoliberal pluralism while they claiming to value different singularity, nor historical specificity and endorsing the norm, the performative discourse on critical free market verification was needed as a return to the metacritical inventory that takes account of historical capitalism and collective agency and necessary to destroy the racialized ideological practices in the institution that maintain the exploitative capitalist and Dr. Framer. Analyzing specific large impact lower scenarios such as nuclear was valuable at the extent that we control uniqueness of international relations such as American and doing the uncertain scenarios contribute to theory building, articulating what would be said many researchers into voting cognitive biases, and teaching social scientists often have a hard time building scenarios in which they are trained to stray away from what if scenarios are willfully underutilized and methods almost never found to graduate. Listening to a low grade, less than 2% surprising article seeks alleviate the set of scenarios and political science demonstrating the usefulness for theory building and pedagogy. The scenarios, that's scholars are developing testable hypotheses. The scenarios are debated to teach students to apply the theory policy. One of the most common use scenario methods that have gone to a low probability event to best. Example is nuclear warfare circumvented that never resulted as captivated generation. Political scientists in future event was unlikely to occur can name many dimensional political science regulations about narratives that specify variables and events drawn in exit data.
Your role as validist is set a norm about what counts as defending the resolution. Why is that good?
All the reasons why defending the resolution is good. For example, there are things like switch side debate.
So the role of the validist goes to the team that defends the resolution.
No, it's a question of what counts as defending the resolution. The judge set a norm for what is a topical F. We were saying that what you do is not a good norm for what is a topical F because it's something A because fairness.
For T violation, why is there value to playing a game?
Well, first we think that a game has intrinsic value, especially when debate is a game, just because we think that fair rules are important to any type of education activity, any type of fun in the activity.
So fun
and
happiness
in the first place.
Fun and happiness are impacts, right?
And those are a few of the impacts.
Okay. So how does your interpretation give fun to people whose identities have been excluded by only defending federal government action?
No, we think that specifically through a fair game we can lead to a generation of
Why is this
fun.
game
And
fair?
what of a fair game?
Why is this game fair?
Because
We're arguing that you're not fair. The game's not fair to what you do because you don't defend economic engagement.
Yeah, what is fairness then?
Yes, so our argument is that when you have to defend the resolution, which is like the United States federal government, which is an easily accessible figure for pretty much everyone, they can do things like go to their library and research the United States federal government. You can learn about policies that haven't been
Is the
done
United
yet
States
to
federal
do
government
good things.
capitalist?
Yeah, we have capitalist economy.
Okay. So then if capitalism caused the exploitation of Korean immigrants, why should we have to defend a capitalist institution?
That's not our argument. You can read an act that's not capitalist. For example, you can lift
Well,
the embargo, which is economic coercion.
okay.
You can do a Venezuela
Question
act
still
that's not
stands.
neoliberal.
Capitalism caused the exploitation of Korean immigrants. Why should we defend a capitalist institution?
We didn't say you have to defend the capitalist
Yes,
institution.
you did.
No, you can take a specific action that's not capitalist.
Switch side debate. The internal to switch side debate, as your word card says, is tolerance towards different points of view, and only one side leads to equal identification with that side. Am I correct?
yes.
Okay. Have you ever taken the position that not defending resolution was a good idea on the act?
No.
Then how do you know that you are right that we must always defend the resolution in the way that you have chosen?
The argument is predicated off of defending the resolution on the AF forces you to actually switch sides every single round, even if we haven't defended like a performance AF before.
If you haven't performed, how do you know that your point of view is right if you haven't taken the other side?
Because the argument is that by forcing people to switch sides, that is how you solve things like dogmatism. The idea that we have to read a
Okay,
performance
when
AF
have you ever switched sides?
Because when we said economic engagement is good, round 5, then we said it's bad, round 6.
You don't get the question. Okay. Decision-making skills. So not defending an AF will make our decision-making skills go away. Am I correct?
No, it's not just about not defending an affirmative.
Yeah, I know it. So Gabe and I have defended policy AF past 4 years. Do our decision-making skills go away just because we read this AF?
No, first it's based on the norm that the judge is setting, even if specifically your case isn't that, it's whether other people should be doing that.
Alright, what is a portable skill?
It indicates it's a skill that can be used outside of debate and everyday life.
Alright, gotcha.
Nope.
Who's this done?
Yeah, thanks.
Wait, second. 3 seconds.
Okay.
2 seconds.
It was 3. It was 3 seconds. I had
did time it.
7:57 right here.
I was gonna say, I did.
These 3 seconds are going to be a deal breaker. I assure you of that.
The 2-second difference was really perfect.
Oh, yeah. There's plenty of sass from all sides right now. Sass non-unique.
So, did you actually split up the case flow? Or
Yeah, so the third card that you read on case was supposed to be split up. I don't know if that was totally
Did you
clear.
all fully on?
I didn't. I have it all on one
I
sheet.
have
I have it
all
all
one
done.
AC on one page.
Yeah, me too.
I have
Yeah.
one AC on
Then
2 pages.
we'll keep it like
I have
that.
the 1 and 2 on 1 page too. Okay, then let's just keep it on that 1 page.
Yeah.
So, did I miss an order? Or,
Oh yeah, it's case. And it's going to be T framework.
okay.
Coming out of the 1C, they do not have a did that to our methodology, which is a process of conscientization, a conscious clarification, who we are, identifying ourselves in the world, and taking actively steps to change it. This is that, this is that the capitalism turn had no effect because it doesn't say the process of conscientization does preclude a discussion of capitalism in the discussion of the minority first. Go on to line like this 1AC double turn argument makes no sense. It's not how you, if you win, but how you win. The argumentation, the Google.Facebook tried, the discussion, the debate community, that the argumentation that presented in the debate is what matters, not if just 2 minorities are winning a debate. Also, this is good because they fostered research of our argument because the compare style of debate fosters other people to learn about argument. It goes to the episteme growth that OCG was talking about. Also, this is just an exclusive argument saying that Asians cannot win because they perpetuate the model minority. No, we are breaking that through a process of conscientization because Asian Americans fall back on that myth, which we say blatantly. Say we don't now the next 3 capitalism arguments. You can group that first is we change the face of capitalism. Their terms do not apply. White skin, blue-eyed, Anglo-Saxon capitalism that has been taken over by a system and transferred to a large construction of white supremacy. This is mean in 2009. The financial system treated white skin people blue on their blue on their face responsible sadly. The old financial system that built a tendency to crash these 300 years of literal global capitalism. I've seen an extraordinary explosion in the knowledge of liberal capitalism versus unequal stable liberals over time country that embrace to understand to grow powerful and rich the nation and material lost and brave their constitute capitalists and exploiting new technology creating new industry and gaining more power than globally trust and emerging further system build with many build blue applications that their turns have failed to build coalition at least to racial suppression. Ross in 2000 that tries to go back to the classical happening of political left that does not reflect resistance racial differences start with a proposition that are possible in pursuit of working honestly women and regardless of race and social media program for economic justice standing for the left side we're talking about is how for class economic justice and for state for left idea is just another way to tell everyone else to shut up. You can market and shut up. Also they have continued the impacts of the one is first is the psychological violence of Asian Americans and especially South Asians are always excluded from the discussion because their oppression is seen not as limited. This is seen in like such thing as welfare policy where they're excluded or educational policy where Asians are seen as too smart. Now the second impact is the myth of the minority which allows you to justify the oppression of other minorities. White conservatives are like, oh look at these Asians doing so well, why can't you black Latinos support just well now debate either recognize the plurality nature of its community or becomes extinct itself value yourself on the globalization of American cultural for diverse or rhetorical competency review multicultural communicated sadly animals move beyond speech stages of the way question technician humans of forensic culture for the competitive most continually adapt only interact with ever changing environmental risk station we must recognize and protect for education. Okay, we expose ourselves to accept that this can be accomplished and explanatory speech here for by other cultures. Now the myth of the monorail turns to capitalism argument because it's the white conservative point to the Asian and be like yo the free market is working, it's free racial discrimination because the Asian can make it through our country. They just proved that the Henneken workers were still based on a discussion of race going to Topicality. Versus discussing immigration is economic gains, military no date. You are highly less legit. You call immigration policy variant doesn't put out risk of security and put a difference across policy. Announcement to that disagregated the legislation, the payment contributes recent tradition statistics to explain economic gains and the immigration. Now here's the framework. We are able to cross-apply argument from a TNA framework because they are functionally taking our argument. I'm just going to put the different standards offense on here. Now first, the debate is a game argument. Debate is always involving who sets these rules, who sets these games. Debate is not just a stand game where we just pledge allegiance to like debate is always involving who these debate rounds are, what set the grade. So their game theory arguments do not make the limits are good. We are rooted in a literature that connects us to the topic. We are not teams like Vermont BB and Central who State Hall Central who dance and push the limits to the topic. If I can do a Google search by Koreans and Mexicans and get that on the first hit, they can look at the literature base and look at the rhetorical imperialism limits justified in this song in Breakaway 12.
These things are rooted in the notion of language as legal instrument and empire language and all the concept of empire forever shall remain this way. Artificial language construction can be imposed on the political condition of indigenous people, controlling education, legitimate language, and indigenous people colonized with function. Such as defensive creating a duty for the colonized. The process of recording appeals have been made manifest in the community which have been utilized to colonize language. The emphasis control of knowledge and language can lead to colonization of rhetorical appeals and such control. In terms of the debate, you can mark it at the word debate. Now, predictability is impossible. Everyone has a different social location. What you assume predictable for me might not be predictable for someone else because it forces the myth of the mono-minority onto us. Not fair, predictable, or not neutral or objective, but rather shot with biases. Delgado 92, the inherently better, more fair president accepted because he said the strong among spotted finding the position to claim the permission, whatever meant to reflect the easy limitation. So we are to present the control of culture humbly in order to run ourselves. Now, they say LA policy, Latin American policy is good, but current debates produces bad policy that reproduces the harms of the Latin American economic gain that solar work in 2004. The Latin American had been turned into plantation for so and you haven't had no profit to along with penalty using pillars of policy, which is subject to prime millions away. Once people literally these dirty card out land by US multinational corporations set on the planet to cross Latin American use dictatorship, running in the water resource use of corporation for the government from protecting healthcare, education, national for research, the imperialism frame like people don't work together, create new value. Now go into frame of problem. Versus conscientization is the best knowledge to about the average crucial debate. Debate meaningful for Asians. The misrepresented Asian title of the halls of power now. Roll the balance through methodology or best methodology of performing liberty so practical. This is better than their methodology because we have to determine what the debate and stasis about. You can still have a stasis on the methodology question. Now we are a prerequisite of policy because we see the right to live Asian and the C after that the OCG card now. F is that the death of resolution debating the resolution will continue to survive, but our consciousness will not. That debate is ESO and the model minority. Asians that are told diverging from the north will only hurt our ability to jump in the future and be accepted by the wedge. Also, I'm losing my identity to some resolution that tell me to forget who I am, telling girl to I actually telling me that I was to assimilate into this traditional share debate. Now, Framer proposed this engagement that's messed up on a game topic, least Asian and Nicole, where they're used as tools of white supremacy and used as human seals that plan focus promotes schizocentricism, textualism, discourage active politics, it promotes Western knowledge. Conquering the 2002 people are driven in reading that failed to know to other forms of active policy and content for performing a market observer limited the Western imperialism academic knowledge assume that the world text access chart with the regular powers of state and some of the people it's been instrument control and pathway part of the law is referred to written on the first of the black subject is actually textual and it needs to be so transmission. Not politically innocent model for engaging root metaphor on the principle of supremacy. Western knowledge that framework is controlled by the white supremacy rejected challenge in 2004. The framework that dominates policy announced that been implemented in the power who are only white male subject features can be characterized by the assumption that all people that also share the same relation to the social environment policy paradigm is so widely accepted. A lot of policy announced to assume and discretion step. The truth policy will ultimately know the political nature of all regional policy analysis grounded in there. Or the intro of view of rationality Mexican by saying that policy leads to a present announcement pledges and neutral when they're actually types of relation power. Now result includes debaters of the agency OED in a person determined that shouldn't meet criticism offered to identify using the chairman when criticizing actually he should have been careful that the United States government is not the central government the United States but we because we are the ones who create the historicity and narratives of the United States government and make up the United States government. Also debated is that policy making Dr. Crenshaw is we must challenge whiteness. Dr. Crenshaw 97 structural whiteness on the academic public discourse the do critical ideological when necessary to make whiteness visible or to the side of the scholar was located in interaction where there were power white today implicit terminology is not the interest in our words of law effect because it's direct public class about race and political to actors into about race and how to discern race is having class enter the public argument that counter-interpretation reasoning discussion the top one that allows students to examine the history of foundation may not made this impact by the Topicality Arguments card which say that we should examine the historicity because of evidence from the United States frequently means on question this means that we do not link to your role-playing and switch debate office because we are able to capture the political analysis what I'm saying now decision-making argument performance debate translated to political action pulls in 12 the performance part to enter become potential leader what's the call shape for opening debate to my particularly are involved in group called leaders but even social we want to change through government policy after LBS development platform regarding education correspondence many other issues to train my person doesn't have to train for whatever you want that switch side debate we are the only ones who can switch side debate because it's not app or neg it's about debating both sides of the topic we have engaged in switch side debate in the past 4 years but now we are critiquing the United States government no turn unique impact for this argument also role-playing and role-playing is as a policy make opposed like spectator mentality read briefly in 2008 debate resolution over the conference federal access to argumentation spectator debate round no real impact on policy making debates get thrown torture terrorism genocide complicated debate civilization the debate for participation with the policy comfort lover policy we are not immune to the colonial legacy you can mark the legacy now their role-playing arguments do not make sense because they bring contradiction in the debate for capitalism in the United States government that sustains whiteness so not going to critique 95 when they're not just going to push it in one contradiction or putting out in construction whiteness and these contradictions to whiteness and maneuvers around the challenges.
Alright, we'll take about 4 months actually have 8 minutes. Stop around 720.
But let's talk about the Divya 98 evidence. How does our form of debate completely cause the extinction of the activity?
Valdivia Sutherland says that when we just have a state stasis and we do not move beyond that, we produce no meaningful new debates, no meaningful new education, and debates just get stale. That means that the interactions we have with the community are not meaningful, which is what causes the extinction of
Why
debate.
can't the negative read a cave that could grassroots movement? How is that not sufficient?
I don't know what that means. Like you said, this Valdivia Sutherland Carter says that we do not need to defend a state stasis because that makes debate stale, makes it uneducational, and makes debate meaningless for its purpose of gaining
That's in the context of
advocacy.
every single debate thing about that. In a world where the negative can read a critique
Could you
using
repeat that
a
question?
bottom-up movement.
Could you repeat the question?
It's talking about how if every single round were like that, and you had to always defend that.
False.
Why
Valdivia
doesn't being
Sutherland.
negative solve?
Valdivia Sutherland is talking about the state stasis point that is inherent through the competition round. She said that you can, the Valdivia Sutherland evidence is that we should move beyond that state stasis point, specifically in places like the competition rounds.
How are you unable to defend the United States federal government in that, like?
I mean, I don't think the United States federal government can go through a process of conscientization. That doesn't tell anything about who
No,
I am.
I mean in the
relation
context
to.
of like, why does your social location mean that it's difficult for you to defend that?
Your interpretation means that other people who ethically can't. It's not about us personally, it's about your
Okay.
interpretation.
Well, who can't and why?
I mean, like people who have beef with the United States federal government, maybe they like knock down the door and cause disenfranchisement of their family. Maybe they
I have a question for taking this. I just don't understand, why doesn't like the debate norm of fiat so that they can do something that's like not racist,
Wait,
not
like, what is
neoliberal, not
fiat?
capital assault? The idea that like we can
Why would I,
defend it.
if fiat is like fake, then why would I want to do something that the United States federal government is going to do? Why not fiat something I can do? Also, the Reed Brinkley Evidence Index is that the way we use fiat in debate right now leads to words like nuclear war,
So
extinction,
why don't you just
thrown
use
out.
fiat in a different manner to create racism?
I mean, like, we will win that fiating does not happen. Like, your interpretation assumes this world will be
It's
fiat
just,
good policies,
I guess,
that doesn't happen.
Okay, let's talk about this scripted centricism argument. It talks about how when we only focus on text, that's bad.
Yes.
In our interpretation, there is a text, just like your advocacy statement, however, there are advantages and a bunch of other things to talk about.
We just say that it's a metaphor, forcing us to defend the plan is like forcing immigrants to show their green cards, passports to the United States federal government. We say that this textualism supports Western imperialism and Western productions of knowledge.
I have one quick question. What is the Brandenburg argument on the topicality about how rhetorical imperial, like we call it rhetorical imperialism?
Oh, Brave Boy?
Yeah.
Rhetorical imperialism is the argument that setting up limits by the colonizer just makes the education gained by the colonized the only thing the colonizer wants them to learn. So the education we gain from the debate is not meaningful. Your limits do not lead to the decision-making policies that you want it to lead, and that our advocacy skills are shot with these imperialist notions.
Alright, thanks. That's time. Alright, we have 7:20. Stop around 3:16. I'll just save this and email it out. Doubles. No. Yes. The email sent, by the way. Cool. Yep. Alright, the order is going to be topicality and then case.
Topicality.
Yep. Yeah, kind of. Anyone not ready?
Sorry, what was it again?
It's topicality and then case.
Okay.
I assume we're all still filling the case on one sheet. That's what I did for the 2AC. Okay. Everyone good now?
Go.
Topicality debate is not whether or not about whether or not Asian conscientization should be occurred. It's whether or not it's how we go about discussing an affirmative is a kind of why they don't have a tangible mechanism for how they're going to be able to solve the eternal facts of the case because they get not provide the actual input. So when we know that the Asian conscientization is done, then they just turn debate into a one-sided discussion of a book club because they can actually have a meaningful clash with debate. Now you get so negative to endorse the method of Asian conscientization because it's not intrinsically tied to economic engagement. So that would be a larger disruption of fairness, which is the controlling that are got and now any risk on offense ways debate is uniquely detached from personal. We would only want a mini sets of deliberation. This happens specifically justice. Their offense, the topical version of would. This gives topical version of tell list 05. The active physical and the political subject must also take place when the content existing and so that do structural and quality grant for the part of the discussion that the active story the political discussion will also take place. Innocent is going to be themselves be actually deliberated. The Democrats does not advocate public political discussion at the state level. Policy does not have a program that must institutional deliberative promotes democratic policy deliberation because at all levels deliberative is therefore committed to the creation inclusive deliberative setting and social economic structure can be examined must be official policy discussion. There is no reason to deliberate choose between engaging arguments they deliberative sides and creating new as deliberative souls. The work that must be done within existing church within contact deliberative policies includes making policy decisions. There are some valid goals which are probably also good religion discourse consideration, mental disability, cleansing powers of mass for their distribution, deeper analysis, discourse of activity, activists, cleanse, automatic, deliberative, amongst the good reason of the things that continue hegemony, the thoughts around periods of material hegemony to the discourse can grab the distorting factor that exist, only duration to distortion now, the violation made that extend the rest of the economic engagement, trade links, that you have to do, of course, human Mexico, Venezuela, the non-means interpretation can not offend, the motivation economic engagement, the discussion immigrants, and not the topical version of the F, because there are evidences that immigrants that form economic engagement, they did not actually do something like increase the trade agreement with Mexico or anything, they just discussed immigrants, they didn't actually increase something like immigration. Now, extend the Jackson evidence that the instruments of economic engagement must be exclusively economic, otherwise they're not going to win in. If we win that they're not using exclusively economic instruments and that they're claiming things outside their performance, and that means that they do not meet our interpretation. Now, the role of that is the game because they do not provide a stasis point. This is the key to fairness because we're not able to predict that they are economic engagement. We can not actually have a good strategy. The firm is not in the resolution when the negatives are prepared to debate. We should be able to read the cap good or the cap bad K every single round. They have to defend that either the resolution, they should defend an instance of economic engagement that is not neoliberal, or they should defend an instance of economic engagement that is neoliberal. That is key. They actually having any sort of ground that affirms just an order statement in order to take the moral argument that are so vague that they would spike every single establishment. We don't actually be able to get it set. Now, in the hot evidence on fairness, we don't have to win in impacts outside the having unfair debates game at tournaments or places we go to on weekends to do things like win trophies and live by speech time constraints and asking for the ballot that they are still playing within the game format. So they can actually access the transformative potential debate. Also, the mid-size cipher transformative potential amount that they can solve for racism is just the highest amount that we are decision-making impacts can solve for things like global warming or extinction, which means that none of their low-risk analysis bad arguments apply down. Now, debate is no look quantitative, it's not fair. There's no point in competition. The opponent has no chance to win. This also causes the destruction of impact. Now, fairness always in every impact because it causes a community fracture. It will also be fundamental justice, fairness, which relates to the person when corrupting against one to one speaks with fairness engaging to an activity acknowledging rules in which to find a person engaged in just fair, big practice whether position is not acknowledgement, or which will make the conception for fundamental justice only second knowledge can possibly control the between universal and common practice of less relation when we them as forces to some extent fairness plus more to games there's a right to prime has to do to the parties each that can quarter the right to when it falls in the quality of personal to practice the important participating and joining its benefits acting on political intention ambiguous useful compared considered unfair for someone accept the benefits of practice but refuse to part it maintaining also rules are key to fun and education particular one fun but still realize that receptive fair mindful and rules are what the difference gain from all the consequences if you don't have rules you cannot play game the one influence game is your rules making us both fair and exciting also that is key to education or retention that terms their education about age of conscientization principle one equivalence fund and part of learning lesson and another interactive motivation point is that for recurrent experience that a brain enjoys self function more efficient when Jordan about learning realization levels of learners take things more so motivation levels and put forth there without resentment independently there is an independent participation in fact when there's no topic people will go to press and no 3 a substantial number of students who credits all this strongly the experience of not good those that they see this really strongly but that even no topic to reduce the spreading notice and rules for day promoting some kids bring up infinite number of participants mean I'm going to return to a tournament because the confusion perceived like the educational value also the affirmative act of not defending economic engagement and they exclude the negative because we cannot actually meaningful clash with their impact Galloway said debate sets an argument table where all parties receive fair opportunity to affirmative about the topic when one setting is one that fair share equity so one side excludes the other denies person and the other participant demand the voice back like her region critically not being silent and affirmative is one of the decision nor claim to be germane to value that affirmative serves any meaningful role of the negative 15 now, the rhetorical empiricism, right, there's no, like, we still allow for all forms of education, we just say that you have to have a system class in economic engagement so we can actually be able to, we don't not force you to not learn about certain things, you can defend economic engagement and still access every single one of their other arguments, we mean that there is no unique offense with the Brainberg and unpredictable is not impossible. The economic engagement is the stated point is that we're actually able to predict what we can say. Even if we can't predict every single life, we're still able to have a meaningful structure. We can go for something like the cap every single round. Now they make the fairness of God argument, but there's the fairness for whom argument is not making sense. The resolution is a controversial statement, which means that we're actually able to solve also our internal dedication to apply to predictable is a prerequisite to the educational debate. Also, this evidence talk about things like tobacco laws and date rape laws, which do not apply to the debate context. It's talking about court case, not debate. Also, their argument depends on them winning that white supremacy underlines everything, but there's no reason that all of our authors white supremacy the debate is uniquely structured like that. Also, accusing all of our authors white supremacy makes discussion impossible. Hammersley, 93, they suggested that a place of privilege inside the nation study starting to produce a victim from one side. This cannot be simply because they go to the other side of the white side afterwards make this comment by saying legitimacy is not clear whether we should believe. The most can this somebody privilege accepted while others blinded by the ideology. Now, the predictably impact, the Shiley evidence indicates that having a predictable solution is the only way for us to formulate educated arguments and to do research and to clash in the debate. They make the argument that deeper research is a good form of studying the age of conscientization, which means that we have a controlling impact because he made that in the case flow. Now, without clash debate comes when it takes that idea about because we never sure if the app is actually a good idea because we now do things like truth testing. They are not able to prove that the age of conscientization is a good method because they did not write the eternal, and that also the inability to prove this form is not key because they can just give us a one-sided lecture. There's no reason that we actually have to debate them in the debate section without them being predictable. We aren't actually going to have a meaningful clash with their effects. Also, we allow for all sorts of advantage innovations. More talk means that you can explore deeper in literature based and confer new types of norms. Also, limits are the only way for small schools to participate in debate. Also, this turns into conclusion because the life and limits in the model produced, they didn't really undisclosed new evidence in the Neg lesson with nobody engaged discussion when means other people will not be able to actually turn in the debate. Now, also, the people will know the one AC because they don't give the other side a fair chance to respond, which turns our movement under 2000. Whether you should include arguments against your case, it's very much unnecessary there. Or those of you the one-side method will be less effective beating space advice, even if your audience doesn't know much. This is something you do. The other arguments will lead to the rejected views of advice to two-side arguments and be more persuasive with the intelligent our audience. Now, they say that the current form of the topic education is bad because it reproduces the forms of this scope, but there's no reason that's true because our evidence specifically indicates we can do new forms of economic engagement. We can do something like a non-neoliberal policy with Venezuela, lifting Cuban embargo, which is an active economic coercion. We can reverse this historical legacy. Also, the active implementing economic engagement, you can do new forms of economic engagement, which you could get the IRI 12 amendments in case the American policy is at the tipping point of debate about policy, how the solve these issues shapes who gets elected to what government office. I mean, only our interpretation can actually change the way the U.S. engages Latin America in the status quo because that's an external education argument. They didn't not external. The topical version of the affirmative would be to do something like look at the way the Cuban embargo portrays every single Cuban as somebody who deserves to be starved into starvation and is revolted against cash regime and talk about how that is an example of something that's also portrayed in the Asian minority and how those are examples of stereotypes and serving. They can do the 1AC as long as they can result in as long as they can tie to an actual implementation of economic engagement, or if they can actually have a normative statement about something that is definitely true about economic engagement. If they even said something like economic engagement is the root cause of the Korean immigrant exploitation, then that would be pretty close to actually being able to access the negative ground arguments. Now go to the case flow. I'm not going for the double turn argument. We'll concede that it is inclusive. You don't have to vote on this argument, but the arguments that we made, they try to limit something that's like a cap. That's not an argument. The first piece of evidence just again, the Korean immigrants came to Mexico because they were praised that they would be able to work in the capitalist economy on the plantations, but then when they actually arrived, they actually got the lowest wages because capitalists wanted to maximize profit. This is the reason why we should uniquely discuss economic engagement in the context of Korean immigrants, and they can use their Korean immigrant as an example of something that was a bad form of economic engagement, and then they can say that they need to do a new form of economic engagement to actually be able to solve the terminal advantages, and their meter 9 links does not make any sense on the next argument is about how the historical context of economic engagement needs to be discussed because that's a key to the way the model minority is shaped in status quo, because our evidence talks about how in East and West China there's an economic divide and the way that decides which students get to come to the United States because only the foreign students that don't get financial aid because there's too many Americans. Also, only the rich students are able to come to the United States because they don't care about the poor in other countries because the United States college office don't care. Also, they have to go through things like a super complicated visa process to get the K1 or J1 visas, which means that only the richest people and the smartest people come to the United States and the universities, which means economic context underlies all of the context of the Asian myth about minority, which into discussing it in the context of the topic is uniquely good. That's the same thing for the third card we read.
Alright, first your Tasani's evidence says democratic deliberation is good, right?
Tallahassee, yeah, I guess that's kind of an oversimplification.
Then what constitutes democratic deliberation?
Yeah, so this evidence indicates that when you are having like a clash-filled debate with somebody else and you're actually able to like come to a conclusion about what would be a better idea based on...
I'll read you a line. Deliberate politics includes making policy decisions, resolving conflicts of interest and principle, and solving problems as they emerge in ongoing social life. Why is that not one part of the last one?
Yes, because our argument is that you do not actually have a clash-filled debate about how we solve problems of real life, because we cannot engage with your method because you are unpredictable.
Where does it say anything about clash and solving problems?
Yes, you get that the idea of deliberation. It means that there are two different sides arguing with each other and you deliberate about which one's the better idea.
Dude,
when you read this out, you're not... What?
Point me out the word clash.
It's okay. So the idea of deliberation is that there are two different sides.
I don't want the definition.
Obviously, it doesn't use clash. It's kind of the debate.
People have to disagree on anything.
Yes,
doesn't.
that is the idea of deliberation.
Okay, your fun card, right?
Yeah, Prensky.
Yeah. Prensky says, both fun and play, however, have the disadvantage of being somewhat abstract. So how do you define what fun is?
Our argument is just that when you destroy the educational value of debate and you destroy the ability for the negative to like read anything that we've prepared for like all summer, months, the whole first semester, you make debate not fun to participate in because
So it's not fun if like, let's give an example, Leandro Lopez, who cannot ethically defend lifting the Cuban embargo because her family's property was taken. Is it fun for her to defend that?
We don't demand that you defend lifting the economic embargo.
No,
you
just
can
saying,
do a
is it
different
fun
form
for
of economic engagement. We think that the resolution is a controversial stasis
Alright.
point that is uniquely
Okay.
designed to be accessible by a lot of people.
Your Rawls
There's no
evidence.
such thing as
Hey,
like somebody who can't
your Rawls
defend
evidence
USFG.
says fairness outweighs everything. It says, these are examples of acting unfairly, taking advantage of ambiguation of rules, which you highlighted. Then the next part is stating that rules be enforced to one's advantage when they should be suspended. Why is that not framework?
I'm so confused as to what your argument is.
It says that insisting rules should be enforced, such as framework should be enforced by enforced to one's advantage when they should be suspended.
No, the Rawls card definitely says that framework is a good idea. It indicates that
Really?
like, we have rules. That
It
is
says
the only way that you can
sometimes
actually
rules should
prevent.
be suspended. Okay.
No, it says that we need to have rules to really
It's fine,
encourage
fine.
people to actually
Okay.
participate
It's
in things
the
like
Rawls card,
debate.
58. Okay, now moving on. You say that people will quit the activity, right?
Yeah.
And that's worse than people who have been violently excluded and they're
Well-
going to be excluded from the activity?
We would argue that the resolution does not create an exclusive form of the activity and that it actually undermines the process of Asian
Alright.
conscientization if less people
Your
are
top version of
participating in
the
debate.
app, you say that you can talk about economic engagement such as like Korean immigrants in Mexico. Why does that
No.
prove that our app is not?
It's not that you have to talk about it, you have to defend an
No,
increase in
your
economic
analysis on
engagement.
case. You said that you can talk about economic engagement of the Korean immigrants in Mexico. Why does that prove
No,
that Korean
that's
immigrants
just
is
a
economic
reason why we
engagement?
have to uniquely look at the historical context of
And
economic
we do that,
engagement
so
with Mexico.
why is that not economic
Right, but that's why you should
engagement
defend, that's where my argument about how you're an FYI, not a proposal of how to resolve
Really,
those things.
conscientization is not a methodology.
Right, no, your first exposition advantage is just an FYI.
Hey, let me take some of that money out.
You said take prep?
Yeah, we're taking.
There you go.
Yeah.
There's ice in the kicker.
We need good.
You get 30 seconds, so you have 7:27.
7:27.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's 10 seconds.
7:27. How much prep time did the Neg have?
Neg has 6:10.
6:10.
Mhm.
I'll make that clear. 6:10.
You see, your computer looks unstable.
Yeah, very unstable. I don't know where the frick.
Here, just switch the stand instead of switching the computer.
Did you know that those stands were multiple colors? Yeah, Leo and Rick and I they wanted to order one and they were out of black ones, so they got a different color, they have in silver, purple, we got.
They come in pink, yeah.
We got
I've seen some
pink
pink ones.
and purple, and I think they
Yeah, they do it up.
I told them they should have gotten the pink one, just.
That's awesome. Make those rock that.
I'm gonna guess random for the moment.
Process of elimination.
Whatever you could do.
I'm good.
Engaging in a simulation of U.S. policies in a competitive switch-side debate format results in the search for the best policy. This can be used after the debate to hold the government accountable. This creates a better policy and takes life regardless of USFG policy is universally accessible. That is key to equality in terms of everyone have fiat as a liberating effect because even if current U.S. policies are bad, the fiat allows them to do things that are against the current U.S. trend and policy which is able to resolve all of their education are often no government modeling or iceberg. It's taken 12 evidence to indicate that yes, the government has flawed components but challenging or assuming the government's important and valuable through a thorough discussion of federal policy learning the language that allows to confront reform and challenges institutions outside the right results. A lot of the impacts of the root cause exploitation Hoff and 99 policymakers should be able to mobilize available knowledge required citizens. Do not policy proposals really follow demand. Precise knowledge policy should be able to mediate different disciplines should be able to mediate science and politics central. Science is multiple methods of communicating policy. Relevant knowledge authorities linking with interest groups and expert marketplace ideas with our constituents are the lesser judges equality neither. Partner assisting groups showing any inclination ordering this field and they can scientific debate provides minimal amount of scientific validation that it does provide some sort of comes to ideological universe and disarray policy analysis should be able to somehow speak to the political elites who are ideologically operating to a broader audience ideologically distorted citizenry and abstract morals and fails. We have to use the government Isaac and to the campus to become moralistic rather than politically serious left. The discourse substitution of moral or anarchy about evil policy or institution for sober consideration for right and how the cost of the benefit of any reasonable spread of the unyielding consider moral goodness under political responsibility thus see the purity of one's do not assure achievement of moral purity is often the complicity with the justice market and justice and external interpretation first and interpretation of the debates a game where the resolution creates a state's point where they defend how the United States federal government should increase economic engagement. Also, the role of that set a norm for the debate community about what counts defending resolution. Now, the affirmative doesn't advocate a resolution, specifically the conceded increase evidence, which says that increase makes it become larger or greater in quantity or content. English Dictionary 6 between there's no change to the meaning because they do not actually increase the United States federal government economic engagement with Latin American also or resolve definitions before the colon means legislative action. This their reference is on the context of colon talking about resolve for, resolve about, or something which not. The specific resolutional wording also USFG should be based on policy established by governmental means. Their evidence just says we should criticize the USFG, not that we actually are the USFG. Now I'm going to answer the script of criticism argument. This was a pretty well crossing about the plain text. It does not have to be the sole function of the one you see because there are things like advantages. I don't think that they can talk about also since they written advocacy statement they link as much to this as us now. They're now all answer to all their status racist claims. They're talking about this. It does not mean granted legitimacy justifying proposal needs specifically sovereignty that works within the system proves that they lack sovereignty process in the United States by having recourse to the ordinary language of international religion or not. You may argue the states and the political organization proposals must be consistent the language of modern state proposals and justification criticism. The single law to use make use of content where they're present part and parts of the original world language political morality which is not completely shot through the state. Really initially sits in their rights and no longer represent the government. And they say they give prerequisites to policy ever the fiat is able to solve any of their prerequisite argument because we are allowed to change a policy in the world we imagine fiat. I'll get to why fiat is good for the role playing debate or not the role playing debate on the fiat debate now. So even if policy is about the education that we gain from debating about them is good, which was conceded once again, like no, we're not going to go for a decision making or switch that debate skills argument. We're just going to go on how we should be able to defend the resolution of the plan. Now also now the criticism now the advocacy statement is this criticism now on the role playing debate. This is the only offense we're going for the one hour because they have not read enough on this. First is no link. Yes, we did say debate should be about the way the USFD should economically. We aren't actually pretending to be the government. I can argue with a friend about whether the Falcon should get a new running back, but I am not the owner of the Falcon now. So role playing is good. A debate and academic exercise where the affirmative plays the role of the federal government. The negative negates well in this case competitive. That's based to imagine new ideas and translate into practical suggestion play tactical advocate and resolution emancipatory change the Andrews and take individual words actually unlimited we know what we need to. One creates space for thinking the challenge and each one we should start from the premise that currently the method is not good enough for merely agreement on this emancipating concept to push. You can put the process can be made competitive look for unexpected alternatives to find the vulnerabilities of the new idea and now also we saw the spectator phenomenon increase education joiner and then the use of debate can be an effective pedagogical tool to debates like other role playing simulation can allow students to understand different perspectives debate present the alternatives and consequent form which are both fashion judgmental audience students realize the United States action does not always measure up to natural legal expectations in the debate format. They give some benefits to stimulation and other action learning techniques rather than expectations of the legal advocates debate thus becomes excellent vehicle for pushing seems beyond I still argue now. So they say that debate is they say that current debate is racist. However, this argument is flawed. Versus and Peterson, there have been numerous successful minority debates of all races engaging policy debate for such as Azad, Evans, Anderson, Stephen, Bailey, Darrell, Bursch, etc. They respond by saying these people were token and compliment. However, this is preposterous assertion that's irrelevant because at least they're saying that policy debate does not structurally exclude anyone based on their race. Also, we like to reform within the system by reading an affirmative that still increasing economic engagement. However, criticizes U.S. policy judges lifting the bar, which say negative state action should be sufficient. They saw that all their classes argument. Also, there's no reason why they are unable to cite a bunch of specific debaters who are structurally disadvantaged and defending something like the USFD. They have no specific stories or narratives or debaters who are structurally disadvantaged about defending the USFD. You should treat your claims as suspect.
How much for 7?
27.
I'm ready. You ready? Are you sure? Ooh.
Alright. Case. Topicality. No. How should we do? Case for a look. And both of their overviews are all the same.
Both the views are what, sir?
Both of their overviews are going to be before I go to the black box. Let me send you the doc.
No, I think there's something wrong with the computer. I mean, I have like enough batteries or something.
Okay. It's not just the plug that you're plugging into.
Yeah, it's just like.
Yeah, that plug doesn't work for me either. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
There's one here, one that calls a high.
Yeah, maybe it will. Sure, it's just like.
Question, did you flow it one and all the role-playing good stuff just straight down? Block cards.
I have a section that says role playing, and then I write things.
The signpost when you go there.
Just be like role playing. We'll be good.
Yeah, he's right.
Oh, now it's working. So it must have been the outline. I think we can just do it. Okay, sorry, Michael, what's the order?
Case. Framework. Topicality.
I'm sorry, I'm such a hot mess. I'm gonna try to be a better judge for you.
You're in pretty good judge.
You only just this one round.
That's true, I've literally only judged you one round.
You were pretty good that round.
Dealing with a lot of things going on here.
Anyone not ready? Okay. They still don't have a dissatisfied methodology, concentration, a content clarification process, learning what which you use for identity. They have dropped the terminal impacts of the ways once again, the psychological violence against Asian Americans and the presentment between minority groups, the custom myth of the minority used to justify this type of oppression of the South Asian, of the Black, of the Latino. All of these are tangible impacts from what you see. You have dropped the argument that voting on Centennial means that people research our arguments and that we get more inclusion within the debate community, which is the independent reason why we saw the impacts if we get that valid. All his arguments by the Captain interrogation of the economic gains arguments are all reasons why our interpretation solves your offense, because things like interrogate immigration policy is economic gains because it interrogates the capitalist structure behind it. This is exactly what Miller and Taylor arguments talking about. Proofs and interrelation, framework argument, way too many drops of arguments. What? Oh yeah, also extended value supplement argument right here. This was not answer coming out of the negative block. The value supplement ever since that when you only have a static portion of the debate that causes the extinction of the debate because other forms of view is not needed. Counterfactuation is going to solve this argument. This is internal answer to all your debate good arguments. Go to the framework overview. The framework overview was just a bunch of role-playing good arguments. The framing issue for this entire framework applications. Our interpretation does not exclude role-playing. It's a discussion of topic. That means that you confirm the topic in different ways because you can include perspective, defense, traditional policy aspects, and other types of interrogation, different types of affirmation of the topic. Even though our interpretation might expand the limits a little bit, the type of education we gain from this outweigh. The first argument is Topicality. This is a better form of education. Examine the historiology of the nation. It is critical to understand how the United States have functioned in the past. Without doing these types, the myths of society like the myth of the modern continue, which is the internal link to all your role-playing good arguments. Now, solely role-playing is bad because when we divorce ourselves from God and past, we ethically align ourselves with the glorious legacy of the United States government. That causes callous policymakers that produce and making oppression. That's the piece of brilliant evidence. I'm going to finish that card here because it's good. The objective stands of policymaking appeals for such as entirely to tell you the power that produces and making oppression. That's enough offense. Go to the framework for poverty. You have dropped the role of that should be who best performs capably methodology, liberate oppression. This is the evidence keeping the reason why their role of balance is better because our role of balance is better because this is the only way to critically examine and give education necessary to perform your education. You have dropped the argument that frame that the Conscientization is a prerequisite for Asian political engagement because it's the only way to do it. You have also dropped the argument that framework is the myth of the minority, which is the reason why there's no top level version. The Western framework is over white supremacy arguments. The challenge gives us a uniqueness. The reason why value of someone is necessary because traditional forms of policy analysis only lead to the relative type of education that they talk about. The definition is made. The result includes barrier. The should means criticized, and also we have interpretation of the United States federal. They don't have any reason why the interpretation is better or more predictable. You have also dropped the computation discussion topic, which should be able to solve offense. You have also dropped the argument that we can cross-apply between framework and topicality. You also dropped the post evidence, which is education in that because it says that performing the debate still leads to the app skills that you talk about. Also, we have straight term switch I made into 2AC, which is another drop down coming out to 2AC because our interpretation is the only way that you can affirm a topic different type of way, which is that the only interpretation that the least type of tolerance that you talk about is the affirmative interpretation. Go know the T-flow proper, the T-flow overview. He said that we don't solve it, there's no terminal medication. Conscientization is a good method because it's a process of constant clarification, which means that we do not need to employ the solving. If our methodology delivers from high school, that should be enough. He said vote negative. You cannot vote negative because our role as performance heavily paces that from conscientization. He agrees with speech to close evidence. We are not detached from, I believe, today, which is the reason all our education offers are framework is the reason why this release card is not applicable. The goal of the line proper, the discussing economic engagement is economic engagement. He just said that economic engagement cannot be exclusive econ. He does not agree, of course, in that immigration policy is not exclusive econ, which is the reason why you should further military take the evidence. The reason why we do not explore the limits of the topic. Now we stand that framework. We have also made the argument that we can crosswise between the framework. Now the argument that now I'm going to answer your fun arguments right now. It's all about how you win. Your fun arguments are violently exclusionary act that used to be protected for because just because it's fun for you to always run federal policy, to run heads on the RFD Neg and run policies that's not a reason you should exclude the ideas of people who cannot ethically defend the federal government. This is a wrong type of fun, something that the Neg is ethically wrong to advocate within the debate. But also, is there a difference between people dropping out just because they don't have enough time and people dropping out because they cannot particularly debate? This exclusively moderate groups I talk about. The reason why they lead to the wrong type of fun reason. You have dropped the argument that we are rooted within the literature base. We're not the type of teams that completely don't relate to the topic. We dive specifically into the topic, which is the interrogation of history game talks about the empirical. Now we have a bunch of defense to fairness limits regardless, because predictability is impossible. Different groups have different personal barriers. Also, the witty and the Scotia solve the argument. Now, there are also many things that would classify for because different interrogation history, like Bronze Law, contain different methodologies that take an analytical lens that's not ancient idea with a myth only binary, or arguments like capitalism, feminists. Yes, you can run the calculate against us, and also performances such like the team method. All of these are things that classify for. Also, your interpretation doesn't solve any limits argument because even if you do federal government action, there's still a bunch of school layouts like River Hill Labs that just give the money to one person, and also we have a double line. If I personal experience a lot, and there will still be explosion limits because we can determine and just do that, or they'll just use extra T to exclude our discussion. We've said that interpretation. That's all I have. It also limits bad regardless because the Solintra parabola evidence and causing important materialization. Only through these type of static identities is what leads to this argument in the first place. Finally, the top version of the act. It does not solve because our role-playing pattern is World War. It also framework is a myth only modern, which is the reason why we have these topics. What? Oh yeah, doesn't solve contradiction because of personal precedent. Finally, you have dropped a contradictions argument, which is a theoretical violation. Saying that capitalism and also we have to defend capitalist structure is a contradiction. The non-capitalist increasing evidence impacts saying that it causes white supremacy because that's how white supremacy operates and is universal.
Alright. We have 6:10. Like, could you explain that the argument was that either personal narratives are inevitable and that explodes limits, or you exclude our personal narrative because it would be extra key? Was that the double line?
It's like if we could do a top of and still include our perspective, that doesn't solve because everyone would just have those things inevitably, or you exclude it in this way.
Albert, can I unplug you? Like, Albert? Your name's not Albert?
Oh, wow, that's Albert.
His name's Blake.
Block it.
I don't know why I thought it was Albert. Sorry. Is there this one?
He just named you.
I'm officially Albert. I don't know why I thought that. I really was confident.
Alright, the order is topicality, framework, case. Everyone ready?
Yeah, go for it.
Topicality, the role of the bout is the judge to decide whether or not they have defended the economic engagement through unconditional threat on the you should set a norm for the debate community of what counts as defending economic engagement. That is, he resolve all our offense. Now, Michael used the term drop literally, and the order should be how these comes to be clearly instead of the role of the about throwing the truancy and the one and all, which means you do not actually get it now. The no input argument means that we can actually decide whether or not the app is a good idea because we do not know when the conscientization means we can actually be sure if they solve really trouble impacts the one AC. Now, the other, in fact, the overview has been said, the totality evidence against the debate is just one sided deliberation, which means that we can use other sides of deliberation. They are not actually winning a reason why the debate is nuclear key, which means that we can still do things like ancient conscientization and still be able to solve the offense. Now, the voting negative argument, even if we would have performed them, they have not provided a reason why economic engagement is a good thing, which means that you do not have a jurisdiction to vote affirmative because they have not proven that the resolution is a good idea, which means that you are have to default to a negative. Now, the violation is they not a type of economic engagement. This evidence just says that economic engagement should include things like immigration, but they do not increase immigration into Mexico. They do not even defend the United States federal government increase of economic engagement in Mexico. I mean, they do not meet this argument that the discussion and immigration is not going to be able to solve our offense because it still causes all of our impacts. I mean, we not actually be disattached to economic engagement or any that they're just going to discuss and they only got everything because they don't actually result in any now. We do not have limits, so we have forced them to defend economic engagement. It's the only way to have it. And we are able to read the cap good or the cap bad cake, and so we are going to actually be able to have ample ground, or we can read something like a trade bad DS and dissat or the neoliberalism critique, or those arguments that are key negative ground that is key to fairness, and that are turning to fairness is that there's predictability without actually having our well-researched negative strategies to be able to read in the debate round. We are not actually having a fair debate. Now, too many conceded arguments on fairness for them to go back. First, the Prensky argument, which indicates that when the debate is no longer fun for people, they do not actually have any retain the educational value. You shouldn't think of it like when you hate a class like AP chemistry, you're not going to actually retain any of the information because you think that the class sucks and you had a really mean teacher named Miss Tate. Now, admittedly, they concede the participation impact that indicates that when you do not have the rules for the topic, people are going to quit. This empirically proven by an experiment in 2003 with the NTTC, though, which is another term case because not only do people not retain the education of the ancient conscientization, but they will not continue participating, they will undermine the visibility of the movement. Now, the Galloway evidence is also conceded, which indicates that they exclude the negatives voiced in personhood because the research strategy that we spent 7 months at camp preparing and things like the human agriculture that are not going to be able to be read in the debate because they do prevent us from reading that because they do not, they say that fairness is exclusive, but there's no warrants for this argument. There's nothing about the resolution that's structurally exclusive. We are not going for the USFG argument, so that no leaves us out of all the USFG bad arguments, but there's no reason that people cannot defend a new form of economic engagement, even if it's historically been neoliberal capitalism. You can defend a new type of thing which is able to solve all their offense, even if some people are excluded by it or not be able to have fun. The resolution is unique, controversial spaces point which people can actually debate about whether or not it's a good idea, and even if they are winning all their arguments that has historically been capitalist or racist, etc., you can do a new form of economic engagement, like stop neoliberals in Venezuela. You can do a type of trade agreement with Mexico that's not neoliberal, or you can lift the Cuban embargo, which is an act of imperialism and coercion, economic coercion of neighbors. So now their lit text argument is now predictable literature. It's not in the context of economic engagement, it's in the context of Asian American study. Now the second impact I'm going for is predictability is the key to the clash. I believe evidence in case the clash is only to determine whether or not the app is a good idea, which means you should air negatives do not actually determine that able to solve it. Also, they prevent well-researched strategies from actually being invested in. And also, they can see that the one-sided oration is able to solve their impact, which means the debate is not a key forum because because we're not actually able to clash or have the well-researched strategy with their app because they are not predictable, which they don't actually access any of that is a form of offense. Now, our economic engagement good is able to solve that. Our interpretation means that you just have to defend economic engagement, which is able to have the limits. Even if some people read small apps like or that would lose to things like T substantial. Now, the personalhood narrative, go on. We still allow for things like narratives. It's just a question of whether or not you can use them in the context of defending economic engagement. The topical version of the app argument is mishandled because you can still do things like relate the Cuban embargo as another metaphor of the way the Asian American is oppressed in the United States society, which is able to solve it. Now, the contradictions argument does not make any sense because we do not say that you have to defend capitalism. We just say that you have to defend economic engagement. You can do a non-type of capitalist. You could do like a plan to help the Zapatistas or something, which clearly wouldn't be neoliberal, which is able to solve all their offense. That means that there's no link to this argument. Now, the framework to make all these drop arguments do not actually make sense when we are not saying that you have to defend the United States government. You just have to defend that economic engagement is a good idea in the effort towards Mexico, Cuba, Venezuela. This is under the rule, and we're not going to say that the rule by governments, all their offense are disclosed, they're not intrinsic to the affirmative. The model minority argument doesn't capture all of our impacts about acting as USFG. Also, they say that their interpretation doesn't exclude role playing, which means that all these are potential dissent to their interpretation. Now, they say that framework is racist and all these arguments are racist, but they don't have a specific way that framework is racist or exclusionary. Things like the fact that Rashad evidence was in, I think, finals of the 1990s ADT, reading things like policy and DA strategy prove that debate is not structurally racist. And closing now, the switch side debate structure does not make sense because they can see and cross-section the 2AC that switch side debate and decision-making skills are going to be inevitable. That's allocated out of the winner design is saying the terminal impact of this. Now, the SSD evidence just concludes that access to SSD impacts probably must be decided. We'll consider other rounds solving the fact that they read policy as and that we also can read different types of performance at the future. It was also we're good for fairness outweighs their education argument because if we went into their not seeing, then we access every single one of our other terms case arguments. Other SSD is in the context of debating both sides, not in the context of Latin America, Asian conscientization. Now, the case advantage. Concede that research is good. We are a better interpreter of research by the top version F. We have answered the role of the bad argument. Their debate calls the extinction argument is not intrinsic to this because cross-ex proves that we still allow for all this form of education. We don't force you into certain types. We still allow you to talk about that. You just have to tie it to economic engagement.
757.
27.
27?
727. You took 30 seconds
right.
before the warrant R.
Why is stuff trade phone? What do we need?
will be case, framework, T. There's probably going to be an overview on T. The overview will be on like interpretations. Okay, is anyone not ready? You will sign your ballot after because the 2 has no impact on the framework on topicality vote and conscientization is still good methods to solve for psychological violence agent and the myth of the modified exam. See the impacts again first is the psychological violence agents are always left out, always invisible, always swept under the rug because they are excluded from these other discussions such as how framework is excluding us from the discussion and learning our own identity and going through a process of conscientization. Second back myth of the model minority white supremacists use the Asians as a vector for oppression and use it to justify other oppression. Like look at these Asian Americans are excluded. Why can't you be the same thing? These are tangible impacts because Asian Americans are excluded from things like welfare policy and educational help that the framework cannot resolve through debate about USFG because the United States government cannot go through a process of conscientization or disrupt the myth of the model minority. Also, the Bolivian Sunlight evidence was mishandled. Again, you do not allow this education because you say we must do a normal increase in economic engagement that stagnates the type of education we debate and also is critiqued by the Bolivian Sunlight evidence. This means that debate education and the class we get from debate is meaningless, that we will produce new knowledge and the activity will not become fun because no one is producing anything creative and fun, which means that it causes the extinction of debate. It internalizates all the arguments because if you have debate, you can have go into framework arguments. I do not get it. If we just have to defend economic engagement, does that mean we need the UFG or not? The form of economic engagement they are talking about is using the USFG, which means that all our role-playing arguments are disadd to the engagement. Role-playing is not always ethical because there are some people that cannot ethically defend it, such as Leandro Lopez, who cannot defend the Cuban embargo. The federal government cannot go through a process of conscientization, so I don't. There's no reason that I should role-play, and then the counter-interpretation does not exclude role-playing because it's like a permutation of voice interpretation. We allow the policy discussion but we should include the voices of different perspectives because if we don't do that, Topicality impact without these different perspectives, we will just reproduce the harms the colonial past. That's the doctrine should never bring the evidence that it will just make council policy make a general coloniality. The past that's the suicide debate argument is just a reason we don't link to the dialogue deliberation arguments because we are not dogmatic and allow others to speak. The framers are afraid role-playing is now an advantage for us because we are the only ones who engage in an ethical form of role-playing and they say we don't defend the United States federal government. Go into the teeth. Versus the overview, do not abide their limits to arguments because there is no tangible impact to limits that we do not capture. Their interpretation means the Aff that talks about Korean immigration to Mexico are not allowed. When Neo's Mexican Kilo Jordan Aff is not allowed. Bronx engagement with Cuba Aff is not allowed. When Mr. Cuban securitization Aff is not. Bronx size Venezuela neoliberalism Aff is not allowed. You say that Neg should get it to read topic specific disagree but what does it actually happen? The ground that Pix really wants to policy to that or the Jemmy imagine does not provide any view of the topic and the affirmative it's the one that provides the interpretation of the topic. Also, the interpretation allows their interpretation also allows teams that can just read regular plan text that are supported like River Hills giving money to a specific perfect in Mexico app or let's protect a type of species in the Gulf of Mexico app or affluent intellectual poverty rights to the lab a certain part of the lab in the Mexican border man. The interpretation will never solve for the limit argument because the apps are inevitable and people will just continue to run their generic arguments. The words like substantial will never check back to me because these quarterly apps just means that you will keep on excluding it and that your research will not apply to them, which is the clash arguments that you are making. Now, are in the world of our current interpretation, yes, you will expect the limits somewhat, but the little lost in fairness is outweighed by the massive education. This and the counter-interpretation is not an unlimited the negative would like you to believe because our standard of literature, our counter-interpretation would exclude C.E. Bird, suicide at St. Paul Central, East Side, Anti-Black, that Brooklyn text, crazy ghosts at Acorns, love that because those guys do not have a methodology grounded in the literature of Latin America. Our counter-interpretation allows to and gives space to ground reading the neoliberals where they can critique our methods just as in new market about domination or the movements this which you can say the movements going in Latin America will be crushed by our engagement. They can read the cap cave, feminist cave, invincibility cave, answer cave, criticism cave, you need to critique now the argument now go on specifically on the line, but like first it's a role about the performing methodology, best liberates of practice this solve because it means that we can still economic geek, but it's better for our education. This that also yes you can contest the app through a counter methodology such as the capitalism critique that you read. The case also is a constant clarification, which means there is the purpose is not to have an endpoint. It's not a one-sided deliberation because we are the only ones who allowed the polling card was continued again that only empirical evidence of the debaters ever making changes through the leader of a beautiful active group which they went on and solved for issues such as incarnation and many other issues. Also to tell me their card is talking about how solving for social problems is still a form of deliberation. The Weil Neg arguments do not make sense. They have to win the role of the balance. They say increasing immigration for economic engagement must be increasing immigrants. They have conceded that economic engagement is discussing immigrant policy. He has not extended interpretation in the 200, which means you can't even vote for their economic engagement arguments. We discuss immigration policy by discussing the Korean immigrants that went to Mexico. He says the debate is no longer fun class. Fun is arbitrary. Also, we have an impact to this personal role-playing argument. Defendant state is not fun for other people. The participation argument is outweighed by the psychological violence. Some people are violently excluded from the debate. Not that they don't have the time to do debate, but they are violently excluded from the debate. You cannot say that this argument is going to outweigh the Galloway arguments. Don't make sense because the counter-interpretation allows you to have competing methodology or say our methodology is a bad thing. So you still have the voice that we exclude is the dominant hegemonic force that Shaw evidence critiques because those are the white supremacists, those are your deliberation, and democracy will just continue to make. The literature is a predictable one because it's grounded in Latin America.
One-sided erasure doesn't solve anything.